Classic example of how I did not think this through. Oh, in these moments you just have to laugh at yourself, right? Oh, golly gee willikers. Today's sort of an unusual circumstance. You see, I'm not where I'm supposed to be. We actually got stranded on the side of the road. Our truck broke down hauling this thing up a steep grade, blew a turbo boot. Not by any means a complicated repair, but I'm just in the middle of nowhere and I don't have the parts for it. So, sorry for the highway noise. I'm literally parked right off of the highway because I just MacGyvered my turbo boot back together with some duct tape just so it would hold long enough to tow this rig back down the hill to the last town that we passed. So we're stranded here for a couple of days while I Amazon primed us a new turbo boot. And I was just sort of thinking, well, as long as I'm stranded for a couple of days, why not build a guitar? So let's see what parts I happen to have on hand and see if we can't throw something together. Here's an interesting little project that I've been putting off for a while. Here we have a custom-made guitar body by another YouTube channel called Scar My Guitar. They reached out to me before they even started their channel to see if they could build me a guitar body to feature on my channel. And I was waiting to see them work a little bit on their channel and get their channel growing before I obliged to their offer, but they do really have a really cool YouTube channel over there, and look at how cool this thing came out, okay? They told me if I could dream it, they could build it. So we came up with this awesome body shape, and they left me some room for creativity with the bridge placement and bridge pickup, but I got 2 strat pickups, a tele route. But look at this body. This looks like a one-piece body, and it's made of pine, solid pine. But it's actually not a one-piece body, but you would be really hard-pressed to find where it's glued together. I know you guys probably are looking right here at this. This is some kind of knot or something, but that's not where it's glued together. It's actually glued together right here. Just this little piece right here is the only piece that they glued on there, but they did such a good job with grain matching it that you would not even know, because they know that I'm a wood grain guy. I always do transparent finishes, and so they really wanted me to have just a good base to work with. So this is gonna look really cool with a nice stain or dye. Haven't decided what color yet, but look at this top. I mean, this is a beautiful flame maple cap, okay? Look at that. It's at least a 1/4 inch thick cap. Probably more than that, maybe even 3/8 inch cap on there, and it is just beautiful. They did an excellent job book matching it. It is just absolutely awesome. So this is going to look really, really beautiful when we're done with it. So I don't really know what I have in mind as far as the finish and stuff, but I do have some electronics that I picked up, and so I'm going to work on kind of getting everything set up and oriented and do the routing that I need, and then we'll worry about the color. Now for the neck for this thing, they did ask me if I wanted a handmade neck to go along with this, but I told them, you know, I've got actually some extra necks on hand that are not seeing any projects, so I would actually like to get rid of some of these. This one came from a Tom Top Telecaster kit, and it's beautiful. It's actually real rosewood, which was totally illegal for them to send me from China, but they did it anyway because they just do what they want. Anyway, this came from a kit, and I ended up not using it for some reason, I don't know. So I have it on hand, but it is a good straight neck. I do like the rosewood, good looking grain in the maple there, but more importantly, it's almost a perfect fit for this neck pocket. And I got a nice blank headstock so I can carve in whatever shape I want there. And I think that's just gonna look really awesome. Alright guys, I get to try out something a little bit new today. One of my viewers, Jamie Lamb, has been requesting over and over again that I do a sustainer in the neck position of one of my guitar builds. So I picked up this Sustainiac that I got from sustainiac.com. I'll put a link down in the description, you guys can check it out. But these are what they use in a lot of the Schecter Sustainiac series. It's probably the only sustainer pickup that you can actually grab from the manufacturer these days because they hold all the patents for it. So the biggest thing that I can tell so far with installing a Sustainiac is that it's just a pretty complicated electronics-wise. So you really have to plan out your build. So I've got this AUX TT board that comes with a built-in on-off switch and a three-way switch for the different ways that you can use the Sustainiac pickup. And then here's the other circuit board inside this. I'm not going to open it until it's time to install because it's in a static-free bag, probably for good reason. But I'm going to need a spot to install this circuit board. So I measured out where these two little switches are going to go right there, and I'm just going to drill through and then route out from the back. And I'm just going to open up this whole cavity because we need to fit this circuit board, a battery, plus our pickup selector switch, volume tone, and I'm going to do a couple of push-pull pots for coil splitting my humbuckers there as well. So we're going to fit a lot of electronics inside this thing, so I'm really going to have to open up this route, but I do want to keep just a tele style control plate on the top. So we're going to open it up from the back, and then we'll just cover up in the back with some kind of cover plate that I'm sure that I will make out of wood or something. First thing I'm going to need to do is, when Scar My Guitar built this, they didn't know if I was going to be using a pickguard or not, and I've decided that I'm going to use a pickguard because it's just going to help with routing all the wires, as well as for maintenance. If I need to get to any of the electronics, it's just going to be easier than having to feed these through little tunnels. So I'm going to route out little canals going through here that will be covered with a pickguard, and then I will probably actually end up just drilling a hole right here into this, what's going to be a really wide cavity here in the bottom. Now I just have to point something out real quick. They have some real geniuses working over at Seymour Duncan. Okay, these are the screws and springs they gave me. You see the springs are actually these little sort of rubber doodads, and they slide right onto the screw like this. And the reason why this is so genius is it holds your screw in place while you mount your pickup. So you don't have to worry about the springs falling off and all kinds of stuff like that. So it is just, man, so clever. I'm definitely going to be stealing that idea for future pick guards and pickup mounting. I got to find where I can get some of this rubber tubing because that is just amazing. Who thinks of that? Now all that's left for this pick guard is same as a guitar, just to finish sand it and stain it and finish it up. All right, today I'm going to be applying my dye to the body, and I'm going for a seafoam color, but I don't have any seafoam dye. But I do have yellow and blue. In fact, it's actually lemon yellow and aquamarine, and I've found in my trial and error that 1 part's yellow and 3 parts aquamarine actually makes a really good looking seafoam, if I recall correctly. So we'll go ahead and mix these up together, and I'm just going to do measurements by capfuls here. I'm going to do 2 capfuls of yellow. All right, count with me so I don't screw up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so 1 to 3, 2 to 6. You know how to do math. Find your common denominator. All right, stir this up really good. Really, really good. All right, so it's all dry now, and it looks pretty good, but I'll be honest, It's not quite the color I was going for. I mentioned that I was going for a seafoam, and that kind of looks seafoam, but this maple cap actually turned out more of a kind of mint emerald kind of a color, and it's not really what I was going for. I want something more like this. So the cool thing about RIT dye is not only does it dry really fast, like it's only been about 10 minutes since I applied this, and it's perfectly dry, but it's actually very forgiving. So I can actually sand this off and try it again. So I'm gonna add like another half capful of lemon yellow to see if I can get that really cool seafoam green sort of color. All right, so I just sanded that down with some 320 grit sandpaper, and I've got my old mixture right here, and I'm just gonna add, I don't know, maybe a half capful of yellow. There, see, now that is the perfect color that I am going for. This actually looks a bit on the green side now. This maple is just not behaving the way I want. But if you look closely in these lighter deposited areas, that's actually the color that I am legitimately going for. It's just these darker deposited areas that are really just a little bit too green. Now, what happens with RIT dye is that the dye will settle kind of wherever you leave it. So if you don't wipe it on very evenly, you can end up with a blotchy sort of finish like this. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to sand it down a little bit just in those heavily deposited areas and try to smooth it out a little bit. And then I think we're actually going to be ready for tung oil. Because I think what's really going to turn this thing into the seafoam color that I want is just going to be a little bit of sanding and a little bit of tung oil. Okay, this time I just have a small piece of 400 grit sandpaper, and I'm just going to go really lightly, and it is going to turn a little bit bluish, but you just got to trust me on this, okay? Glove in a bottle. That's going to save my hands from having tung oil on it for the next few days. As you can see, I should have done that before I did the dye, but I totally forgot. And for this pickguard, I'm going to use my Minwax True Black. I've used this quite a bit on some other stuff. You see here I'm taking a dry part of the rag now, and I'm kind of going over that True Black to try to pull off as much stain as possible so that wood grain starts to show through. All right, now that is a pretty looking pickguard, don't you think? All right, guys, today I am in beautiful, windy Oklahoma, okay, on a nice 60-acre ranch, just hanging out here for some of these winter months here. And I am back to this project now. Today, I was supposed to get to wiring this thing, and for some reason, I just feel like it's missing something, and I think I figured it out. So what's going on here is, if you have a look at this wood grain, you can see that the maple turned out to be a different color than the pine. And I really want this to look a little bit more cohesive. So I think I'm gonna put a little bit of space between those two colors. And I'm gonna do that by just using a roundover bit with a router. And we'll see if that gives me the look that I'm going for. Honestly, this thing's already finished. I put the tung oil on it and everything, and it's ready to wire up. And I just wanna get to the wiring process. So I feel like I'm kind of taking a step backwards here by trying to do something different, but I don't know, I just feel like it needs it. So maybe this guitar project isn't gonna be done on time. Well, this thing was supposed to be done before Thanksgiving, and now we're past Christmas into New Year's, and yeah, I'm way behind anyway. So I might as well make it awesome, right? So let's take a step back and try to give this thing some character. Well, this is horrible. This is just horrible. Well, I gotta show you guys what I did here. Classic example of how I did not think this through. I was relying on my ball bearing to guide me, and look at what happened there. My ball bearing sunk into my input jack cavity, and I just took out a huge chunk of this guitar Gosh darn it. How the heck am I gonna fix this? Oh gosh darn it. How am I gonna fix this? Oh, in these moments you just have to laugh at yourself, right? It was going so well. Look at this. What happened? It was going so well. What am I gonna do? I'm gonna try my best not to cry. That's what I'm gonna do. Oh, golly gee willikers. Oh man, look at that beautiful body right there. Ah! Look at this. I got a square jack plate cover. Look at this. How do you fix this? How in the heck do you fix something like this? You keep moving forward, I guess. Well, let's figure this out. Firstly, I think I'm actually going to finish the route because I do like how this is starting to look right here. So I'm going to finish it. I'll even carve out a little bit more. Why not? Just see what happens. Oh gosh, Dan. There we go, like it didn't ever happen, right? This will go right there, cover up all that mess down there. And this, hopefully we can stain it up and it'll just disappear. We'll see what happens. All right, got it stained up, put a coat of tung oil on it, and all things considered, not too bad. It looks about as good as I expected. Not quite as good as I'd hoped. You can still see the lines from the cuts. It's just gonna have those. There's nothing I can do to get rid of those. But at least I color matched the color that was on there already really well. I mean, look at how good that turned out. So that's definitely a win for me today, is that I was able to dye it the color that it originally was. All right, you guys, I want to take a moment and just be very real with you. As I was building this guitar, I came to a very serious realization, okay? This guitar body that was sent to me from Scar My Guitar is absolutely beautiful, and I just really wanted to do it justice. I really wanted to make all their hard work and craftsmanship show through in the most beautiful way possible. And I got so caught up in trying to make this thing look good. I worked so hard to dial in the right color, but I actually didn't like the way it turned out the first time, so I sanded the whole thing down and redid the color on it. And then, of course, you guys saw I tried to add this stripe right around here and then made my huge mistake. And so then, in an attempt to make this guitar look good again, I cut it out and replaced it, and then I had to sand it all down, and I had to redo the color, and then I had to redo the finish. And as I'm looking at this thing, I'm seeing all kinds of tool marks kind of all over it. And as I'm looking at all these tool marks, I'm just thinking to myself, man, this guitar should have been assembled so long ago. And now today I'm supposed to be assembling it, and I'm thinking, man, I'm gonna have to strip this thing back down, get rid of all those tool marks, and start all the way over on the finishing process. And that's when it kind of dawned on me. I'm spending way too much time focused on how this guitar looks and not on what really counts, how it sounds and how it plays. And so that's the crazy revelation that I had today, is that how often in our lives do we just focus so much on making ourselves look good to other people? And I'm not just talking about how you look, you know, your diet, your exercise, your makeup, your clothing that you wear, but I mean like how you appear to people, how successful you are, how much you've got it together. And we just don't focus enough on what's on the inside, what really matters. Now, I know I'm getting all sentimental on you, but bear with me, okay? What really matters in life? How good we appear to other people, or how good we are to other people? So as I'm looking at this guitar body, like, it's got a few scars, okay? It's got a few tool marks, it's got a chunk that was cut out and replaced. But yeah, we were able to heal that wound a little bit, but there's still a scar that's left that will always be there. And scars, I've decided, are not such a bad thing, okay? Scars remind us not to do it again, okay? If we were completely healed of our mistakes like it never happened, what would be our incentive to not make those mistakes again? And for me, this really resonates for me as a follower of Christ, and how I've let Jesus come into some wounds in my life and I've allowed him to heal it. But there are still some scars left that remind me not to make those same mistakes again. So whether you're a spiritual person or not, or a fellow brother in Christ or not, I think we can all agree on one thing, and that's how we appear to other people pales in comparison to who we actually are. Let's stop focusing on how good we look and how successful we look, and start focusing on just being better people. And for me, that was allowing Christ to come in and transform my life and influence how I live my life. And for this guitar, what it looks like is I'm just gonna stop worrying about how it looks, and I'm gonna assemble it, and I'm gonna put my heart and soul into making this thing sound good and play good, because that's what really matters in the end. So in addition to the Sustainiac, I wired in a couple of extra tricks. So one push-pull pot will be a coil split for the bridge pickup, and the other push-pull will be a bridge bypass that sends the bridge pickup directly to the output jack. And that adds a couple of additional options, which I will explain a little bit later. As always, you can see my wiring diagram for this guitar at my Patreon page, patreon.com/DanThompson. Okay, real quick, I'm gonna run you through the extra tone options that I installed on this thing. So you got your typical 5-way selector switch, so that gives you neck, neck plus middle, middle, middle plus bridge, and then just bridge by itself, right? So I also added a bridge bypass, so you pull on this knob right here, and that sends the bridge directly to the output jack, so that you can do, in the first position, you can have neck and bridge together like a Telecaster, or in the next position over, you could do neck plus middle plus bridge. And then, of course, I also have a bridge coil split. If you pull on this, it splits the bridge coil, so you get all those options with a split coil bridge as well. So I'm just gonna blast through all those settings real quick. There's not a single tone setting on this thing that I don't absolutely love. They're all a perfectly usable tone, so definitely some cool mods. Check it out. Don't forget to check out Scar My Guitar, and I'm Dan, this is Guns and Guitars, and I will see you in that next video.